Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night with Behind Black Business, sponsored by Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities. And tonight, we have a very, very special guest, Dayo. Say your last name correctly.
Dayo Laoye.
Dayo Laoye. And Dayo is from Nigeria. And Dayo is a longtime friend of mine. He's reminded me that it's been 32 years since we've known each other. And Dayo's an artist. And we have many people in our communities that are doing so many wonderful things. And our artists are so important to us. So I want to thank you, Dayo, for taking the time to come and speak with our family tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you know, Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities, we're a nonprofit organization. And we're here to support our businesses in the community, because if we support our businesses are more and likely to help circulate those dollars in the community. So whatever it's like an investment when you supporting a Black business, somehow those dollars will find its way back to you. We're great proponents of our bookstores. We're asking you, this is the holidays now coming around, support Black businesses, support our Black bookstores. We have the Underground Bookstore, the Book Joint, Afriware, Semicolon, Burst into Books. We have about 9 actually different bookstores here in Chicago. And so we want you to support them. Buy a book or buy some art. You know, we have beautiful art here in our backdrop here that our brother Dayo has created himself. And so there's so many things, other things that we can do in terms of celebrating this holiday, and so many other ways of spending our dollars with our own people. And so that's what we're asking you to do tonight. And so the Southside Community Federal Credit Union, we want you to support them. They're a Black-owned banking institution here that has been in Chicago for over 20 years, providing loans and all kinds of loans, from mortgages and car loans and personal loans and financial literacy to the community. So please support the Southside Community Federal Credit Union, and please go to rrgbc.org and subscribe. We will be giving books away this month, as we do every month, to lucky subscribers. So go to our website and look at what's going to be available. So tonight, I want to get this conversation started with Dayo. I don't know where to start, Dayo. You've been in this country for a long time. You know, all the 32 years that I have known you, but I think you've been here longer, right?
Well, actually, you've known me for most part of it. I've been here for 34 years.
Okay.
So 32 of it in Chicago. So indirectly, when you met me, I was green and I was quite new in America.
Okay.
But I was new to Chicago.
New to Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But you've made Chicago your home.
Well, I have. I've made Chicago my home. I came to work at Window to Africa. Probably I should start by what led me here. Yeah. I came originally from Nigeria to study in 1988, to study at Washington, D.C., at Howard University as a studio artist. And with the hope that if things goes well, I probably will go into art theory. to become a professor or curator of a museum. But things won't work that way. As we know, the economy went bad at home. My uncle, who was my benefactor, somehow couldn't sponsor me any longer. So I knew I had to then do what I was able to prior to coming to America, which is just practice as an artist. So I moved to California briefly and eventually moved to Chicago. Moving to Chicago, I worked for Window to Africa, where we met in Harper's Court. And my first exhibition was done there. Titled Sacred Vessel. I think you attended it in 1992. It's about 16 to 18 works that celebrates the power of women as vessels, as ikoko vessels. So, and since then, I've exhibited in different institutions within Chicago area, including ETA in 1995 and Southside Community Art Center. In 1998 or 2001. Yeah.
Okay. So I know when I moved to Hyde Park, Windows to Africa was there.
Yes.
And how long have Windows to Africa been there?
When I joined Window has been existing for about 6 to 7 years prior.
Okay.
In the 80s. You know, I understand it was as first, and later it was at 50p and Lake Park.
Okay.
Then Hyperbole, but sorry about that.
Okay.
And then until it came to our Harper's Court. Okay. So it was at Harper's Court in 1987. So it was in the court when I joined.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I think the Window existed till 1998 before it turns to the institution in which we are sitting now, Africa International House, that produces the African Festival of the Arts.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for those people who are not familiar with Windows to Africa, that was a very special place, a very special time, because it was a time when African Americans actually had an opportunity to develop relationships and learn, more about Africa, because there was so many artifacts there, and we had so many wonderful conversations and really learned a lot from each other coming to Windows to Africa. And everybody some people were going to Africa. Our brother Robert, would come into the store, and he was acclimating himself to make that journey back to Africa, learning the language, learning about the clothes and all of the beautiful clothing items and artifacts that were in that store. That's right. That's right. And so many Black people were able to make that connection. And that's what was so beautiful about Windows to Africa. And so you were there, and
I was employed but then don't forget, at that time the owner of Window a couple Baba Patrick Uto from Liberia and his late wife, the Dr. D. Palmer Uto. They were the founder, the owner of the Window. And when I joined, those who were working there was brother Steve Berry Jackson.
Yes,
blessed memory. Blessed memory now. Gwen Loster.
Yes.
Joanne Scott, an artist and a professor at the Art Institute. And Shiona, who is Baba Patrick's sister, Shiona Chancellor. And of course, her husband too, Curtis Chancellor, worked there while I worked at Window.
Absolutely. And it was just a place of art, the jewelry, the paintings, the clothing, statues.
What we carried at that time were both museum quality, what they consider art in the Western Hemisphere, but they were spiritual objects. Sure. These were figurines, these were furnitures, or items that are used for spiritual reasons. But people here collect them as collectible. But from our observation, most of the clientele at the window who are of African origin do not consider them as decorative. From my experience, I remember some of our ardent collectors would come and want to, just like you, they want to know exactly what this object that is speaking to me, what is it? And then if it fits what they're feeling, they buy it and continue the functionality of the object in their home. So what Window to Africa is quite unique to have done that to those of us from our culture who consider living with such artworks, but not necessarily as what you would consider as a collector, so to speak, but people who are indirectly custodian of our own culture.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what I would like to talk about. You know, that inspiration behind your artwork. You know, how would you define art? You know, that's a you know, art is in so many things. You know,
as we speak today, anything could be art. Yeah, but if we look at it, probably I should start from my Western training before I then come back to my original self, which redefined what I'm doing today. From Western training, art is something you create by the artist, from the artist's feeling, that could then attract somebody else who could relate to it, who we could refer to as the collector of the art, or somebody who could live with it, who could relate to what has been created. And that could be in any form or shape with various media. Could be paint, sculpted, ceramics, and what have you. And to create that thing that is not existent prior. But art to the African traditionally is the same thing, but has to have a function than what it is to the Western audience. For instance, a stool that you sit on will have images, we have decoration that speaks to what it's used for. A bed, for instance, might be the same, be made of wood, but will still be deeper than just sleeping and having fun, or maybe from the aesthetics value of what it looks like. It's beautiful bed carved from wood, but it might have a deeper meaning. Who sleeps on it, and why do they sleep on it, and for what purpose, and when do they?
Can you elaborate on that?
Because there are spiritual. There's some beds that probably are used for procreation. There's some beds that are used for maybe to astral travel when you go into spiritual realm for guidance. And there are some beds that are used when we are not when we are transitioning into a different realm, as in death. So that's why I said a bed might look like a bed, but the question is who sleeps on it, and why, and where, and where. So when that object, as for instance, as the bed, is then viewed from the African perspective, it's viewed for the function that it represents, more than just for the beauty that it represents.
It actually has a function. And so there are people who have artifacts, art artifacts, and they may not know what the inspiration was behind it or what the actual function of it is. They just maybe like the way it looks and or have a feel or be drawn to it, you know, for some other spiritual reason that maybe they have no answer for. But that's very interesting.
Yeah, because sometimes, for instance, I have an example of those who shopped at the window at that time. That most of what they gravitate to seems to be spiritual art of a certain region in Africa. Each time they point, so oh yeah, yes, you have something new. Then I will then hint after they've gone on and I've explained what it is. I said, but by the way, may I let you know the last time you came, this is from not too far from that region. He said, really?
Wow.
Oh, so even before DNA, it seems as if Africans here for 400 years still gravitate to part of Africa, either food, music, clothing, spiritual traditional art of a certain region that could have been where our ancestors probably were taken from.
And that's because of that spiritual,
because it's
that spiritual connection.
Exactly. Exactly.
I know the guest that we had last week, he is into agriculture, and Brother Rashid Nuri, and he talked about the earth and how we come from the earth and nothing ever goes away. You know, even when someone dies. And they're always, that spirit is always there, you know. I never forget the recommendation you made to me about making a cup of coffee for my ancestors every day. And we still, I still do that. I still do that. And I think it makes, you know, it definitely keeps a connection there.
Because traditionally in many parts of Africa, our ancestors are present. And if they're present, we do things that we used to do to them when they were present.
Okay.
Music that they like, food that they like, drinks or libation that they like, I give them periodically, and in most cases, every day. When you make food, you still have an altar or shrine, or even there, don't forget, in our old compounds where our ancestors are laid, sometimes in their room. And so the food that is cooked for everybody else, we won't neglect not having their food too there. So we keep it there. So the coffee that becomes what we take here, which is the staple. If in different parts of Africa, it could be pap, corn pap, could be other things that we drink. That's the staple as coffee is. So the coffee suggestion was based on learning that, of course, your our ancestor through you, like coffee. So we want to make sure that that coffee is still there for them, to keep their spirit present.
Okay. And I'm sure that's very present in the work that you do and the art that you create.
Well, a typical day in my studio, especially the studio I had for 25 years at Stony Island, Wooden Island Apartments. 1990, that time we went through 2015 was where that studio was, 25 years. A typical day would on sense that we got from window. Then have my own name. And then and born. Sorry for that. Interrupted. Just and then of course born incest. Change the water. Put the music, Orisa music on to start my day. And then in so doing, I've invoked the spirit of my ancestors to be with me that particular day. And then before I start painting. And so whatever painting that I'm painting, for instance, in the early 90s, it was like the painting behind me, the Orisa dolls, which pays tribute to the Orisa, the deities of the Yoruba people. The one behind us.
Can you see this one?
Yeah, interestingly, the one right there is titled Baba Atiya. Baba Atiya then means father and mother, ancestors. Title. It was done in 1991, and it keeps them alive and present with us. Yeah.
And that's important because it's just like if they were here.
Yeah, because they are.
What would they be? What would they be doing?
And don't forget, they are still here in form because they still live through us. And when my ancestors are gone, if you watch it within that family, immediate or extended, a newborn baby will come sooner or later. In which case, it's a cycle. Like I said, nothing is gone to waste. Like your last speaker said, we are off the earth and we come back again and germinating as humans through life of our newborn. It's a cycle and it goes on and on, unending if we do the right thing.
Now I know when I first met you, you were doing I mean, your work was so powerful, and you drew, had pictures of these women, and I'm not sure if all of them were represented through the Orisa, a representation of Orisa, but you had all of these very interesting drawings of women, and you still do a lot of drawings of women.
Yeah, in 2003, I started a series I call Negritude. Negritude is in praise of the beauty, the diversity, beauty of Black women. And so I have up to 30 different women I painted, of course, including you, that were represented in it. In Negritude, it was just live, unlike the sacred door that I did of the Orisa, which was totally imaginative work.
Okay.
The Negritude speaks particularly to the type, the different looks of African beauty.
Okay.
What makes beauty within the African experience, and why beauty to us is not just one way, like in other cultures. A person that is beautiful here might not be considered as beautiful elsewhere, but for a certain reason, they are beautiful for specific reasons. For instance, what we see as an aspect of beauty to the Yorubas is more of the Iwa, the character, the essence of the person makes them more beautiful than just the physical. And so what I address in the Negritude is that uniqueness that each person we have that the other person doesn't have.
That's a battle, battle we have here in America in terms of standard of beauty, especially with Black women, something that we've had to struggle with, throughout the years, whether it's the skin color, the features, but then
the hair, or the other aspects of its features, like
sure. But then, like you said, there are other things that we should be looking at,
yes,
in terms of
and that's the character, which is Iwa. Iwa is what we call it in Yoruba. We say Iwa Lewa.
Okay.
Character is what makes someone beautiful. Because what we remember by people is not the so-called physical thing. By the time it's all over, you say, "Oh, Sister Denise, oh, that fine lady." The fine there is beyond just the physical. The saying is of the same spirit. When Patrick saw you, he's not seeing you in a while, Papa Patrick. And he said, "Oh, you still look the same. You look the same." Yeah, it's going beyond just what you just saw, physical. It's the aura that you radiate.
Sure.
Yes, stay the same. And that's the most important part of beauty. Yeah.
And I think that's something that should be taught.
Yeah.
And stressed. in our culture and to our children, because that part of the individual that you're talking about is the part that you have to deal with when you're in a relationship, whatever type of relationship you're having. That's what you have to deal with. What's on the outside and what is superficial is one thing.
And don't forget, what is superficial, what is outside changes from time to time.
Okay.
So can you imagine if we're attracted to a certain thing and it keeps changing every decade or less, and it in 20, 40, 50 years later, it's not exactly what we saw. Wow. And that's, if we make it, that's our priority, then it will affect how we think of the person, because it won't always be.
Wow.
Yeah. But the character stays if it's honestly put in between, inside the person. The behavior of a person will stay. The aura will stay. It will never change. You are lower.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're painting, what's happening?
Well, luckily you've sat for me before, and you've seen the emotion, like it evolves when I'm painting. When I'm painting, I can only feel as much of the painting itself will determine how I feel, because it's a feeling. If I'm painting and I'm liking the painting, I forget if it's someone in front of me that I'm painting, I will forget they're there until probably they cough or they say something, or they say, "Can I take a break?" That's when I remember that, oh, somebody. If, for instance, if I'm painting a landscape, as an example of it up there, behind us, of Jackson Park, just near where my studio used to be. While I'm in the park there, I could forget that I'm painting until all of a sudden, if people are behind me while I've been painting, maybe this make a sound or something, then I start to laugh, really totally out of myself. So creating to me is when you're involved with it and it's really, you are in tune with it, it takes me out of myself, so to speak. But when it's feeling good, yes, I totally enjoy it, and you feel alive. But when the work is then done, I feel very tired. You think I've been jogging, I've been exercising, and that means it's take a lot of energy out when I create.
Absolutely. I know, I don't know, do you know Bobby Irvin?
Yes, I do, the musician.
You know, yes, he used to play with, he actually did the producing for Miles Davis.
I was about to say that.
He said Miles Davis painted.
He did. I saw. And in fact, while I was in California, I was lucky to see a couple of his exhibited somewhere. I can't remember. Yeah, most of his work, Baba Miles Davis' work, more line works and color and line and texture. When you see it, it sounds more like his work too.
Yeah.
You feel the mute on the trumpet in his line works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Baba Bobby too paints, doesn't create.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He has some beautiful pieces.
Exactly.
Never had an art class.
Yeah, it's natural. Because creativity are connected. If I give you a brush, I'm sure you create them, especially when you're expressing by not looking. Even if you're looking at an object, you express it your way, how you feel about it. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Once you can create, Now, there's limit to how much instrument I can play, but I can play drums. But I won't call myself a musician. But it seems as if a musician are able to visually create the rhythm within their mind, so to speak.
So do you sing?
Oh no, I don't sing. I don't sing. When I was younger, I probably got a few notes, but with time, the talking drum, Yoruba, I can do a little on it. Yeah. Maybe on the gong, I can keep a rhythm going on the gong. A shekere. Those are the few instruments that I can play. These are Yoruba instruments.
Now you talked about Yoruba, and at my time coming to Windows to Africa, when I was first introduced to the Yoruba religion as well. And one of the things I thought was so beautiful was the connection to all the elements. You know, the water, the fire, the land, crossroads. How does that impact your work?
Coming to America and also to Chicago, and meeting Africans here who practice the Yoruba spirituality inspired me a lot. Because don't forget, my generation are from generation of probably those who converted already twice into other religion.
Okay.
We've changed from our traditional practice in the 1700s. So in the 1800s, Islam came to our part of Africa and converted, especially my region, where my mother is from and my father is from. So already in the 1800s, we were Muslims.
Oh.
And then come 1900 or late 1800, that's when the missionaries came from here, the Baptists, American Baptists. Came and started converted again. So from Islam, then we still converted to Christianity. So you're talking of historically, an average African has been converted at least once. So some of the Africans today that you see are mostly Muslims, depending on what region they're from. They're from Mali, Senegal, Burkina Faso, and what have you, or northern Ghana, northern Nigeria, northern Cameroon, predominantly Muslims. And the south, the more you get to the coast, where Christian faith came from, the more you then see most of us who are Christian, either Methodist, Anglican, or American Baptists. And so in my war, when I then came, first of all, my maternal grandfather converted from Ogbomoso, and he was a Baptist reverend. And my paternal grandfather was born a Muslim till 10 years old. I even knew the Quran. But at 10 years old, the missionaries that came to our region, you brought him. He was used as like a houseboy for them. And in doing so, he was able to go to school. So he was able to study, and they converted him to Christianity, and his name was John. So he is the first Christian from my paternal family. So I was born a third generation Christian in my family. Coming to America, to Chicago, and meeting Africans, brothers and sisters like you, who understood what their spirituality was, and haven't gone through experience of the same people that converted us in Africa. He woke me, and he reawoke in me what my role should be as an African. I was able to look within and to understand that the creator in which we all look to as Africans is not of a devilish kind, as presented by Islam and as presented by Christianity. It was because if you look at all the ethics that they mention in both religion, we had it already within our own tradition prior. So seeing that firsthand in Chicago made me not only to paint the series on the Orisa of the doors, but also to see myself as a born-again Orisa person. And so ever since, I've carried myself with that in mind, to know that I'm coming back to what my ancestors were first fully converted into, coming back from it into what we were naturally.
So would you contribute that to being a significant influence in your work?
Certainly. Certainly. If you look at my work, I mean, it's one thing. I think the easiest way is to look at my work from the late 70s to late 1980s, and then look at what happened in 1990 when I then came to Chicago. Luckily, I date my work. So if you then look at my work from that period and what happened after I've known the Orisa people in Chicago, you obviously see the difference. And yeah.
Can you describe
my palette, for instance, my palette. Palette is the color that the artist used. Sure. Yeah. So my palette has changed from meticulously mixing my palette, my paint, in the way we were taught in the academy, the art academy. It has changed into using the palette to speak to what my subject matter is. For instance, if I'm going to speak to affection, love, seduction, we have to limit the palette to yellow and red, which are the colors of the Orisa, Oshun, the river goddess, the goddess of beauty. If I have to paint on Oshango, it's the god of passion as well. If I have to paint on motherly, maternal love, you will see a lot of blue and white for Yemaja in the color. If I have to speak herbal practice, nature, what have you, you will see a lot of green and yellow, which are the colors of Oromila. Those are some of the examples. So the Orishas actually, their role and their color, the colors of the beads in which the practitioners wear, my palette in which I use for my thematical work or for my for works that speak to specific moods within our culture. Yes. And so the answer is yes. My work has changed. It's changed into even the style of my work seems more simpler. Than I'm more preoccupied in addressing mood and feel of my work more than I'm trying to do detailed work, as you will have seen in my early works.
Okay. So you've gone through, obviously, the religion had an impact in changing your direction.
The religion has an impact in changing my direction, more so in waking me up from slumber, if I may use that term. I think if I had not come to Chicago, if I had not come to America, there's no doubt I would have been doing the exact thing that folks at home are doing today, which is either born again Christian or Muslims or what have you. That's what I would have been. Or probably we have a church. Most of my friends and family are ministers, and they have a church that they're running now. So I would think probably that's what I'll be doing.
Do you think you would be an artist still?
Yeah, I would be an artist, but then I won't think of painting, or else, because say if I'm in an environment of people who view God differently, who view their essence through either Islam or Christianity, I don't think I'd be bold to be creating this around. First of all, I won't have an audience. I won't have a collector base. Neither will I have who correlate to it. So I think my being here and having an audience and having people who could relate to it makes it easier for me to create what I can relate to myself. Yeah.
And if you were somewhere else, you'd be doing something different.
If I'm somewhere else, it could be something different. Because don't forget, as an artist, we are inspired by our environment. We are inspired by who we are hanging out with. We're inspired by what we see, what we hear, what we breathe. So all those are inspiration to us as artists.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So where do you see yourself going for the future? You don't know.
I think for the future, I can only wait and let it present itself.
Okay.
I hope it's still in this form, but in a different way.
Okay.
Yeah, but I hope I'm inspired by everything that is around me and by the people I meet.
Now, you've had an opportunity to lecture and help or work with other inspiring artists.
Yeah, yes, I have. Periodically, I go to schools to demonstrate my work, and how it speaks to culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then periodically too, collectors who are teachers invite
Mm-hmm.
me. Collectors who have talented kids within their family invite them to come
Okay. Okay.
to me to look through their work, and then for them to hear from me what it's like to be an artist. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. Well, I have always been a fan of your art. I've always been a fan of your art. I think it's so beautiful, and I can feel something
Thank you.
when I'm looking at it. Absolutely. So, do you have any shows or exhibitions
I might
going
have
on now?
nothing except for right. Yeah, right now. Sorry for the sound. We're at Africa
Yeah,
International House. So
we're in a studio
so,
right now, but it's
yeah.
yeah, we
So
have a little other
so
conversation
that's
going
part
on.
of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me. Pardon me. Hopefully, I might have an informal show before the year is over. I
Okay.
might have a few during the Kwanzaa proper. I might have a open studio.
Okay.
But that will be announced at some point on social media or personally to some of my collectors. But next year, I plan to have an exhibition in here, a
Mhm.
solo exhibition of my recent works. And I will post that too on social media.
That's that too.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about something I do want to address with you.
Yeah.
You know, when we went through COVID,
Hmm.
and many people were locked in or nestled in.
Hmm.
Did you do any work, or were you inspired to do any work during that time?
I was, surprisingly.
Uh-huh.
In 2020, first of all, I was in shock, like
Mhm.
everybody were. I was afraid. I
Mhm.
thought I might not make it because
Mhm.
like everybody else, some of people we know, they make it, both here in the continent. And so, luckily, a client of mine called that I've not heard from for a while. I wanted a specific work done. It's a floral work,
Mhm.
a painting of flowers. So I did. But then after I did that work, frame, and she picked it up with joy. Already the mood of creating has been there, and I couldn't shut it up.
Mhm.
So each week I kept going to the flower store, and it's done near the art store and flower store that I use. Is on North Avenue, north of the city.
Okay.
On is it on Wabash? Yes, we're on Wabash, north of it.
Wabash.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a big flower store that has more variety of what we need, and the price is right. So I go every week and did this series of work based on bouquet of flower, the kind that you could present to somebody who just
Okay.
lost loved one.
Okay.
I call it my muse in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Right behind me, let me see. Right behind me, where my hand is one of the series, which is called Paradise.
Okay.
I did about 15, 16 works for COVID, and they were called My Muse in 2020. And that speaks.
Yeah, the birds of paradise. I see it.
Now.
I see it. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I did that, and I did a few others based on all of them. I think I might have 3 or 4 left from that series. Yes, I was inspired by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, Dayo, would you like to have any closing remarks here? I really,
Well-
like I said, this has been a short but very I think enlightening conversation with you and about you and your artwork here and you as an artist here in America, your journey here, and how it has inspired, the work that you're doing and definitely what it has imparted to those people who have had the opportunity to purchase some of your art.
Well, I think I have to use this opportunity to thank those who've collected my work. Because before coming to America, I was a graphic artist and a cartoonist. I wasn't a studio artist whose work is collected, per se. So that happened here in Chicago. So I can't but thank my immediate initial collectors who are from Window to Africa collectors.
Absolutely.
Like you, they became collectors later. Some are in spirits now. Many of them are joined our ancestors. So to them, I pour libation. To them, I say thank you for relating to my work, to collect it. And then and to those who are still alive, who've collected my work, I would say Edupe Pupo for your kindness and generosity. For those who will be collector of my work, I look forward to you finding something you could live with. At the same time, I should thank you too. I should thank you for being a good friend. I should thank you for posting for me. Because don't forget, you post for me after my stroke. I lost how to create, how to talk, how to walk, how to use my right hand. It's part of your series in 2015. You are one of the 3 or 4 people who sat for me to learn my ABC of drawing again. So you are very important to me. And thanks for this medium to be able to let people know that I'm back creating. And I'm very grateful for your kindness and your friendship.
Absolutely. Well, I am very grateful for yours as well, Dayo. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It's always a constant, in terms of your spirit.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we're asking you, this is
I should
Dayo.
I should say they could see my work through Africa International House, where we're recording right now.
Okay, and this is at 6200 South Drexel.
South Drexel.
South Drexel, absolutely. You can come here and see his artwork and purchase artwork if it's something that you would like. But this is where you are for now.
I'm here for now until I have another studio.
Okay. And yeah, this is the where the African Festival comes from.
Exactly.
Yeah, that we have every year. It's been going on for
33 years.
33
it was
years.
The 33rd year last festival. Getting ready for the 34th.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when it first started, right there in Harper Court.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
The first one. Now it's taken off and you have journeyed along with it because you have some of the posters that with the African Festival of the Arts. You have painted some of those posters,
a couple
right?
of the posters. The 10th anniversary and the 20th anniversary were images of my work.
Okay.
One was a doll for the 10th anniversary of Egungun with the issue as Ago of it. Okay. And for the 20th anniversary, it was a poster, it was a painting of Lagos Jump, which the festival organization acquired actually. Okay. It's called Lagos Jump.
Okay.
So those were the 2. And then, of course, I designed the logo for the African International House, the hut you see straight ahead. Right. That's my logo. That's my design of the logo for them. And of course, of another image of Egungun that the festival used informally as their logo for the African Festival.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Well, family, this is going to conclude our podcast for tonight. I want to thank you for coming. And I know you enjoyed this conversation with Dayo. He's one of our artists, a wonderful artist here in Chicago. And we want you to support him. Are you online? Is there anything online?
My online these days is just Facebook.
Just
you can see me on Facebook under Dayo Laoye.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so please go to our website at rrgbc.org where all of our podcasts are archived along with this one tonight. And don't forget to go to our website and check out our book giveaway, ASA Books. There will be 4 books that we are giving away again for this month to a lucky subscriber. So all you have to do is go to rrgbc.org and subscribe. We also have an online store that you can purchase from and also give donations to help us in our cause to support Black businesses. It supports our podcast and the work that we have done to help our businesses throughout the year and will continue to do. So again, I want to thank you for coming and have a good night.